but we got 6 spots left.
I'm ready to take a vacation.
Imagine standing on a deck smaller than a basketball court, surrounded by 40-foot waves, freezing spray coating everything in ice, while hauling 800-pound crab pots from the ocean floor. Now imagine doing this for 20 hours straight, with just a few hours of sleep, knowing that one wrong move could send you into water so cold, you'd have about 4 minutes to live. This is the reality for Bering Sea Fishermen, the men who risk everything for king crab, and the reason why their job is statistically the deadliest profession in America. The Bering Sea sits between Alaska and Russia, and during crab season, which runs from October through January, this region transforms into an absolute nightmare. Water temperatures hover just above freezing, at 33 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. The National Weather Service routinely issues warnings for waves exceeding 50 feet. That's taller than a 4-story building. Wind speeds can reach hurricane force, over 74 miles per hour, turning sea spray into horizontal bullets of ice. But here's what makes it truly lethal: icing. When those massive waves crash over the deck and the temperature is below freezing, every surface becomes coated in ice. The deck, the railings, the rigging, everything. This ice can accumulate at a rate of 2 inches per hour. A fishing vessel can gain tens of thousands of pounds of ice in just a few hours, making the boat top-heavy and drastically increasing the risk of capsizing. In 2017, the FV Destination sank in the Bering Sea, with all 6 crew members lost. The Coast Guard investigation concluded that severe icing was a primary factor. So why would anyone sign up for this? The answer is simple: money, lots of it. Alaskan King Crab sells for anywhere from $30 to $70 per pound at wholesale. A single crab pot can hold several hundred pounds of crab, and boats can have quotas worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. Deckhands on a successful boat can earn between $20,000 and $50,000 in just a few weeks. The most experienced crew members on the best boats? They can make over $100,000 in a single season. But that money comes with a price tag, written in blood and exhaustion. Crab season is ruthlessly competitive. Boats race against each other and against the clock because crab quotas are limited. This creates a perverse incentive system. Crews work 20 to 24-hour shifts with minimal sleep, sometimes for days on end. According to data from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, commercial fishing has a fatality rate of approximately 132 deaths per 100,000 workers. Compare that to the national average of just 3.6 deaths per 100,000 workers. That makes commercial fishing about 37 times more deadly than the average American job. But Bering Sea crab fishing specifically, the numbers get even worse. Mortality rates can reach 80 times the national average during peak season. Death in the Bering Sea comes in many forms. The most obvious threat: falling overboard. When you're working on a deck that's constantly moving, covered in ice, with water washing over it every few minutes, staying upright becomes a challenge. If you go into the water, your survival time is measured in minutes. In 35-degree water, you have approximately 10 to 15 minutes before you lose consciousness from hypothermia. In rough seas with waves over 20 feet, rescue becomes nearly impossible, even if the crew sees you go over immediately. Between 2000 and 2014, vessel disasters and falls overboard accounted for the majority of the 204 commercial fishing deaths in Alaska waters. Crab pots weigh between 600 and 800 pounds empty. When they're full of crab, they can weigh well over 1,000 pounds. On a pitching, rolling deck, these swinging masses of steel become wrecking balls. Fishermen have been crushed against railings, had limbs severed, and suffered traumatic injuries that would be fatal, given how far they are from medical facilities, even with helicopters. A medical evacuation from the Bering Sea can take hours, time that trauma victims often don't have.
Hey, give them a holler. Check on them guys.
Every piece of equipment on these vessels is under extreme stress. When a steel cable under tension breaks, it whips with enough force to slice through a human body. Perhaps the most insidious killer is exhaustion. After 20 hours of backbreaking work in freezing conditions, with minimal food and sleep, your reaction time slows, your judgment becomes impaired, and you make mistakes. Studies have shown that after 18 hours of wakefulness, your impairment level is equivalent to having a blood alcohol content of 0.05%. After 24 hours, it's equivalent to 0.10%, legally drunk in most states. Behind every statistic is a human story. The Bering Sea Fishermen's Memorial in Seattle bears the names of over 700 men who never returned from these waters. 700 families who got the call that their father, son, husband, or brother wouldn't be coming home. In 2008, the FV Alaska Ranger sank, taking 5 crew members with it. In 2017, the FV Destination went down, with all 6 hands. In 2020, the FV Scandies Rose sank on New Year's Eve, killing 5 of the 7 crew aboard. These aren't just numbers, these are real people who made a calculated risk for a chance at financial security. Many came from fishing families, where this dangerous work was a tradition passed down through generations. Others were young men looking for adventure and quick money. The psychological toll extends beyond the fatalities. Survivors often deal with PTSD, survivor's guilt, and the constant stress of returning to the same deadly waters. Families endure weeks of anxiety every season, knowing that every time the phone rings during a storm, it could be the worst news imaginable. Yet the fishing continues. Why? Because American consumers want their king crab, because fishing communities in Alaska depend on this industry for their livelihoods.
It's a great looking pot. It's even looking better because I know it's our last trip, and numbers like this mean it's a shorter trip.
Because quotas need to be filled and boats need to go out. No matter what the Bering Sea has in store, the industry has made progress. It would be wrong to say nothing has changed. Survival suits are now mandatory equipment. These insulated waterproof suits can extend survival time in freezing water from minutes to hours. Emergency position, indicating radio beacons, or EPIRBs, automatically signal distress and provide location data. Coast Guard inspections have become more rigorous. According to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, fatalities did decrease after these changes were implemented in the mid-2000s. The death toll dropped from an average of 8 deaths per year in the 1990s to around 3 to 4 per year in recent times. But make no mistake, this job is still deadly. 3 to 4 deaths per year in an industry employing just a few thousand people is still catastrophically high. The Bering Sea hasn't gotten any safer. The waves are still just as high, the water just as cold, the work just as dangerous. So why does this matter? Because every time you order king crab at a restaurant or buy it from a store, you're connected to this story. That meal represents someone's son spending weeks in hell, so you can enjoy 20 minutes of luxury. These men are daredevils or adrenaline junkies. They're workers, they're providers. They've made a calculation that the risks are worth the rewards, that a few weeks of hell are worth months of financial security for their families. The commercial fishing industry provides food for millions and livelihoods for tens of thousands. It's a vital part of both the Alaskan and American economy. But it comes at a cost, measured in human lives, broken bodies, and grieving families. The next time you see king crab on a menu, maybe take a moment to think about what it took to get there. Think about the 20-hour shifts in sub-freezing temperatures. Think about the men who didn't make it home. Think about the most dangerous fishing job in the world. Because somebody has to do this work. Somebody has to go out into the Bering Sea, face down nature at its most brutal, and bring back the catch. And some of them don't come back at all.